Hey everyone, so this is Grey's Anatomy, season 13, episode 1, entitled Undo. So basically, what happened on the season finale of season 12, Alex and Joe had gotten into a fight, because Alex wants a wife, basically, and wants to, settle down and, start a family, but Joe is not having any of that shit. And she refuses to even explain why she doesn't want that. So that's why they got into the big ass fight. She goes to a nearby bar that pretty much all the interns and doctors have been going to since season 1. And she gets drunk. So basically, Stephanie Edwards, I'll call her by Ed. I'll most likely end up calling her Edwards. So just an FYI. So Edwards, kind of leaves her with DeLuca. That's the guy's last name. They don't think they even really say his first name all that much. I think it's Andrew. So from now on, I'm pretty much going to be calling him DeLuca. So Edwards leaves Joe with DeLuca, and DeLuca ends up bringing her back to her and Alex's apartment. So she had said, the reason why I can't get married and everything is because I'm already married, and Alex doesn't even know my real name and all this shit. So apparently it's looking like from the season finale that she's not only married, but her real name isn't really Joe. So that was a whole bombshell with that. And then she's as she's saying all this stuff, she's undressing, and he's like, no, get your clothes back on, because if Alex walks back in, it's gonna look wrong, which obviously does, because, one thing leads to another. And Joe's falls back on the bed and having a hold on Luca's wrists, and he falls on top of her, and that's when Alex, walks in and misconstrues everything, which I guess it's not that hard. It's not that much of a leap. So I can understand why he jumped to that conclusion, but the whole thing is basically when the episode starts, he has beaten up DeLuca pretty damn badly. But before I even get into the whole episode, the season 13 episode 1 episode, I want to kind of go a little bit, talk a little bit about what happened that's still in the season finale. Meredith has kissed Riggs, and during Amelia's wedding, Meredith finds out that Maggie likes Riggs, and she feels, and it's kind of obvious that things could get kind of weird and all, if Maggie finds out that Meredith and Riggs have this thing going on. Amelia and Owen have gotten married and everything in the season finale. So that's basically what happened. That's all I remember happening in the season finale. I don't know for sure. I can't remember for sure if anything else happened. So if I'm forgetting anything about last season and during the season finale, then please correct me in the comments below. So going into the episode, Meredith and Riggs, are watching everyone dance at the reception, and they talk about happiness not lasting, and Riggs assumes Amelia and Owen won't last, or something like that. And he's has this pessimistic, outlook on Owen and Amelia's wedding. And Meredith's like, you know what? Why don't you just calm down with that? Because, they literally just got married, not even half an hour prior or something like that, and you're already saying they're not gonna last. Come on, Anyway, so Alex has called an ambulance, and and got DeLuca to the hospital via the ambulance. And when they get to the hospital, he doesn't say what happened. He basically refuses to even acknowledge what happened, out loud at least. And then so again, then goes back to the wedding, and Meredith tries to tell Riggs that them being together won't work because of Maggie, but she starts to say that, but she doesn't necessarily get to Maggie's name. So because she gets interrupted by a phone call from Joe about DeLuca, and so Meredith goes to tell Maggie about DeLuca. So Maggie, and Weber go to see what happened. So basically, at the hospital, it goes to the hospital, and everyone's working on DeLuca, and Miranda asks Alex what happened, but he still refuses to answer Miranda, because obviously he knows what will happen if he says anything, so that's why he's refusing to answer. Then they try to get DeLuca to respond to them, but DeLuca sees Alex and starts, I think he starts seizing. I don't know for sure. Don't quote me on that. But I think DeLuca starts his heart. For sure, DeLuca's heart starts racing, and he starts having, I guess, palpitations or something about after seeing Alex. Then Avery, shows up, or Jackson. I might interchange between calling Jackson or Avery. I don't know, because I might interchange with that. But yeah. So anyway, Meredith and Weber then go to see Joe. Joe's crying and saying he, or Alex in this case, shouldn't have come back. And I'm just like, girl. Part of the shit was your fault. I'm not gonna say it's all of her fault, because obviously it wasn't, but part of it was her fault, because if she had literally fucking told Alex why she wouldn't get married and everything, they wouldn't have had that fight, and she wouldn't have gotten as drunk as she did, and she wouldn't have had made it look like she and DeLuca were, having sex or whatever. Of course, Alex is not completely blameless in this. He shouldn't have, gone over the edge and beaten up DeLuca because of what he thought he saw. So, yeah, Alex is to blame for jumping to conclusions and beating up DeLuca because of his ass jumping to conclusions, but she's just as much to me, it's just as much to fault as Alex is. So no. Meredith tries to question Joe, but Weber says to kind of leave her be for the time being. So Meredith walks around the apartment and sees signs of a fight with blood and things turned over, or things on the floor or whatever. So Meredith goes back to the hospital and sees the police there, and she goes to find Alex, and asks Alex to talk alone. Meredith says sooner or later they'll find out it was him who did this to DeLuca, especially with the way his hand is, his right hand is, because his right hand is all messed up because of it. Alex tries to defend himself, and in my opinion, weakly, by saying that DeLuca was on top of Joe and that Joe was drunk. And he's basically trying to make it look like because Joe was completely drunk, she must have been taken advantage of. If that were the case, then I would, be with him on that. I would totally be with him on that, 100%, if that were actually the case. But it wasn't. Because Alex, like I said, jumped to conclusions and assumed that's what happened. So then he's like, well, will I be turned into Miranda? And she's like, And then Meredith then gives him an out by saying, if anyone asks, tell them that you slipped in your hand and slipped in the rain, and that's how you hurt your hand. I'm just like, girl, Meredith, like, I mean, I get that Alex has shown himself to be, to be a good guy over the last 12 seasons, or 10 years, like, at least over the last 10 years. I can see why, he might have made him, like, I can understand why, over the last 10 years at least, that he proved himself to be a pretty good guy. And I'm with you on that, because, like, at first I didn't like his ass either, because it's like he was fucking arrogant and a jackass, and I mean, he's still sort of a jackass, but I mean, for the most part, I mean, I can understand why. I mean, I can get behind why he's, like, sort of a jackass. I can get why he says some of the things he does, and says and stuff like that. So, yeah, I for the most part, I agree with you that he's a really nice guy, and when he says some stuff, I mean, it's not completely jackassish. It's really just, justified, I guess you could say. I mean, I don't really want to say the word justified with this episode, but there it is. But Alex literally was in the wrong here. He was completely wrong. There was no justifying it. There was literally no justifying him beating the shit out of DeLuca. There was no justifying it. Nothing at all. Nothing at all. Because he only thought that Jo was being taken advantage of because she happened to be drunk. I mean, if he had walked in 10 to 30 seconds earlier, he would have seen the whole thing. Like, he would have seen the whole thing. But because he didn't, he jumped to fucking conclusions. And when you assume shit, you not only make a jackass out of yourself, but you make a jackass out of the person that you assumed shit about. So, which is why that phrase is there, because that's what happens. And so, yeah, it's just like, there was no justifying this. Nothing at all. If he had waited to get the facts, then maybe he wouldn't have jumped to conclusions, but I mean, he may have still jumped to conclusions anyway, or made assumptions anyway, but I mean, at least if he had waited, then none of this would have happened. So anyway, so basically when Meredith leaves, Maggie, comes up to her and asks her what happened, and Meredith bold-faced lies to her. And this is not going to be the first time this happens. She's going to do it again later on in the episode. So anyway, Bailey gets questioned about DeLuca's injuries by the police and says she doesn't know what happened, and all she knows is that DeLuca came in with Alex, a fellow doctor. Ben is put in charge of trauma because Owen is usually the head of trauma, but this is still the same night that Owen has gotten married, so obviously for that reason he can't be there. The second person who usually runs trauma is April Kepner, and she literally just had her stomach cut open by Ben. Was it Ben? I think it was Ben. Anyway, so literally April just got her stomach cut open because she was on her way to the wedding, but then her water broke, and so she had to have an emergency C-section because the baby wouldn't, baby wasn't, coming out and everything naturally. So if it was Ben, then Ben had to cut her open in Meredith's house, and or in whichever house that she was in at the time. And so she just had her baby, so she can't be in charge of trauma because she's currently in the hospital in a room recuperating. So Bailey's like, you know what, you're in charge of trauma. And he's like, oh, so I'm in charge, so I'm back now? It's like, so I'm back now? It's like, and she's like, yeah, you're back. Because I just said that you're in charge of trauma. So then Bailey's like, Bailey's also the person who I'm going to interchange between Miranda and Bailey, so yeah. Anyway, so Ben is then told by Miranda that to have Alex get in touch with Bailey so she can find out what happened and everything. So then Weber is asking what happened to DeLuca after telling Joe that DeLuca was brought in, beaten pretty badly. Joe starts to say what happened, but stops. I'm just like, girl, if you don't fucking stop not saying anything about your damn past, I'm gonna fucking hit you. I'm like, figuratively, of course, but still, I'm just like, girl, get your damn life together. Like, come on. Like, you have been lying to Alex this entire fucking time you've been together with him, and to pretty much everyone else, that your name is not really fucking Joe. You're actually fucking married, or at least were married, and you're not telling anybody. Sooner or later, that shit's gonna fucking come out. Sooner or later, that shit is gonna come the fuck out. Because secrets don't stay secret for damn long. Especially with this damn show. Like, it's never gonna, like, not come out. Like, so, come on. Either you're gonna have to tell someone, and then that person's gonna tell Alex, or you have to tell Alex or something. You're gonna have to do something. You're gonna have to tell somebody. So, I'm gonna need you to get your life together and, like, quit, because I'm so tired of your ass lying all the fucking time right now. Like, stop damn lying. Tell somebody, please. Okay, so that's my little rant for the time being. She tries to then go to the hospital. Weber stops her, so Weber brings up coffee and something like that. Somehow coffee gets brought up. Joe's like, oh, I have coffee, why don't you go make it? So as he's, turned his back on her to make coffee, she gets up and leaves. She's really trying my damn nerve right now, okay? Because usually I'm on Joe's side. Usually when something is involving Joe, I'm usually on her side about things. Usually. But right now she's trying my last damn nerve. She's trying my last motherfucking nerve. In this whole episode she's been trying my fucking nerve. And I'm just like, girl, if you don't stop doing the shit, I'm gonna have to, like, hurt you myself, because you're really getting on my last damn nerve at this point. Ugh. So, back at the hospital, Maggie tells Riggs that she's sure she should go visit DeLuca since things ended badly, and she and Riggs eventually go to DeLuca's room, and she asks who did this, but they don't know, and they only know Alex brought him in and everything, and yada yada yada. They had to call his, and then Maggie decides to call his mother and everything. So Alex then asks Meredith about DeLuca in the stairwell, and she tells him that this is bad, which it is, because the guy's left eye is all fucked up because of Alex. I mean, everything else seems minor. I mean, seems relatively minor compared to the eye. I mean, anyway, and she insists on Alex talking to the police. So when Alex leaves, Ben stops him and asks if he talked to the police, and Alex was like, no, why should I? And Ben's like, well, Miranda said you should. Ben then asks Alex about his hand, and Alex lies, using the lie that Meredith provided him, that he just slipped in the rain and fell. I'm not gonna say anything about that. So then Ben's like, DeLuca will clear everything up once he's awake, which he will, most likely. Avery then says that DeLuca's left eye's pressure is building too much or too quickly and needs surgery. He says he wants to wait for an ophthalmologist, but Maggie brings up the very good point that if they wait, DeLuca's career will for sure be over if they do wait. And Bale agrees, so Avery, decides to do the surgery himself, even though he's not really an ophthalmologist, he's a plastic surgeon. So, anyway, so then Catherine, visits April in the hospital. April reveals the baby's name is Harriet, even though Catherine clearly wanted the baby to be named after her. April then says that the baby's last name was going to be Kepner, even though Catherine is like, okay, fine, well, if the baby's not going to be named after me, then the baby's last name is going to be Avery. And clearly that's not what Catherine was anticipating. And then it goes to Meredith, then it goes to, sorry, things messing up, sorry. Okay, so Meredith is looking at DeLuca's brain scans, and a room when Maggie comes in, and Maggie asks Meredith what she thinks happened, and Meredith lies yet again. So, like I said, this kind of comes up. All of that was a recurring thing. I'm not sure if she had lied a third time or not. I don't remember, but then Maggie reveals that she called DeLuca's parents, but they were under the impression that she and DeLuca were still together. So basically, it seems like DeLuca hadn't told his parents about them breaking up. Maggie then thinks that she was hard on DeLuca and everything, and Riggs kind of, like, they had this whole, when Riggs comes in a minute or two later, they had this whole misunderstanding, and it's just, this whole Maggie liking Riggs, or Riggs not knowing that Maggie likes him and stuff, and it's just, and Riggs and Meredith having this thing is really getting kind of, it's not really that interesting in my opinion. If anything, it's more annoying than interesting, so I think it's just, kind of resolve this within the next episode. Hopefully by the third episode, then I'll be more than ecstatic about that. But otherwise, I'm not that inclined to be all that interested in the whole Riggs, Meredith, and Maggie triangle shit. I mean, it seems like they're reaching with that, in my opinion. I don't know. That's just me. Then Alex tries to go to DeLuca's room, and he's looking at the chart when Joe comes in, and pretty much Alex insinuates that Joe was excuse me, Joe was taken advantage of because she was drunk, and that DeLuca pushed himself on her, but Joel says she was drunk because he had left, and Alex then jumps to the conclusion that she brought DeLuca back to screw him or have sex with him or whatever, and she pleads for him to listen, but he won't, and Alex continues on to say that it wasn't her fault that she pushes people away, and it was how she was raised or not raised, because she always keeps bringing up the fact that she ran away and lived in a car for X amount of years, or for a significant period of time, and she's always bringing that shit up, and I'm just like, well, why do you have to keep bringing it up? Because everyone knows that you slept in your car when you were, from the time you're like 16 years old until you got into med school, and it's like, just come on, like, why do you have to keep repeating that? I mean, anyway. So he says that he wanted to marry her, but he was asking for something that she wasn't capable of. Okay. Anyway, so Avery is then seen operating on DeLuca's eye. Jackson comments on Maggie's relationship with DeLuca, and she's like, she's getting sick of people this episode of the, she's getting sick of everyone, you know, commenting on them, on their relationship, and how she's, you know, how much she cares for him and how much she loves him and everything, and she just wants them to stop. She just wanted DeLuca to, you know, DeLuca's eye to be saved, because he's a surgeon, and without both eyes, he won't be able, without both fully functioning 100% eyes, he won't be a surgeon anymore. And up in the observation gallery, Meredith finds out from Ben that DeLuca will most likely have long-term vision loss in his left eye, even if the eye is still in his head. And his career pretty much as a surgeon is over. Then Ben continues to say that he thinks he knows he did it. Meredith asks why Ben didn't turn the person in, and Ben says he can guess what the person did it, that they basically reacted in a split second. He knows what, and that he knows what it's like. Ben asked why she didn't turn him in, and if it was because of blind loyalty. Meredith says, loyalty yes, blind no. He's earned the loyalty she gives him. Set my piece on that. So anyway, Meredith says that she also, when she reveals that when he first got here, she didn't like him all that much to begin with, because he was one of the worst people she's ever met. But now he's one of the best, and she wants to make sure that the best and worst, like the side of Alex that comes out should be the good side, not the bad. And they both agree that truth shouldn't come from either of them. That Joe is about to take is taking herself out of her locker when Edwards comes in, and you know, saying that Wilbur calls her, and Wilbur's like asking what happened, and Edwards asks what happened. Excuse me, and Joe is like, I'm leaving for good, and Edwards asks why she's quitting or leaving, and Edwards explains to Meredith. So presumably Joe explains this to Edwards, because next thing you know, Edwards is talking to Meredith about DeLuca, and how he was only trying to keep Joe safe since she was drunk, and he was not trying to sleep with Joe. Meredith then tells this to Alex, and Alex asks how Meredith knows Edwards isn't lying, and Meredith says, like, well, she wanted Edwards to be lying so she could have some reason to rationalize Alex beating DeLuca half to death, but realizes Edwards was telling the truth. Thank you. Meredith then advises to tell Bailey and the police, and Alex is worried about if DeLuca will press charges, but Meredith says DeLuca isn't the bad guy here, and she's right, that both she and Alex are the bad guys for, you know, not only covering it up, but trying to rationalize it, basically. Alex then threatens to run away, and she's like, you can't, you have to own up to your mistakes here. Alex thought he grew up and was planning on doing the grown-up thing, but by going back to talk things out with Joe, but apparently he says apparently I didn't do that. Then Alex says he just wants to talk to DeLuca first. Then Weber is seen going up to Joe, who's about to leave forever, stops her by saying running away won't fix anything, and that he'll help her if she wants it. April and Catherine argue over the baby's last name. Catherine says Avery wants Avery because even though she didn't want to take the last name, at first she did. April says she wants the baby to use the last name Kepner because it means something to her, which is good people and a tireless work ethic. Catherine then asks if they can, hyphenate the name, and then Jackson comes in and says they are going to do that. And Catherine asks, well, why didn't you say that? And April's like, well, Harriet's my baby. Jackson's your baby. Harriet's my baby. So that's why I put this fuss. First off, I don't know. Sometimes I like Catherine. Sometimes I do. I'll admit that. Sometimes I like her. But there are times like this where I'm just like, why must you always have everything your way? Especially when it comes to grandchildren. I mean, yeah, I get it that they're your grandchildren, but the but April is the mother. You can't just override her because you want something certain, like you want a certain thing. You can't just override her because of that. You can't just do that. That's just all there is to it. Anyway, so Jo then goes to visit DeLuca and she tries to apologize. She asks him not to tell anyone she's married, but then he's like, "Oh well, you don't really care that because the only thing you care about is me not saying anything about you being married," which is true because it's like, I mean, it doesn't seem like she really cares. But if she really cared, she wouldn't care about him saying anything. I mean, she needs to stop fucking lying about this shit. I mean, like, come on, you're really trying my damn last nerve here about this stuff. So either you tell someone about it and then let them tell Alex, or you tell Alex the truth right now. I mean, because sooner or later that shit's gonna come out, and they can't keep, like, the writers can't keep, dragging the whole secrets thing with Jo out too much longer, because if they do, people are just going to seriously lose interest in her, which most people seem to not like Jo anyway. So if you keep dragging this part out, they're going to really fucking hate her ass by the end of the season. So you're going to have to, bring this out to, like, in very soon, because otherwise you're just going to lose, your fans are just going to lose absolute respect, just lose all the respect that they have for you by the time it does come out. So anyway, she tries to say, "Oh, that's not the case at all," but he won't listen. Alex comes in and Lucas starts speaking out, so Jo tells him to get out. Meredith is sitting in the room when Riggs comes in, and she's like, she tells him that she doesn't really want to say that she doesn't really want to do this thing that she has to do, but she has to do it anyway. And so she asks Riggs to sit with her for a while before she goes tell Miranda about this. So Meredith then goes to Miranda, tells her that Alex beat Luke up. Miranda then asks when Meredith knew, but she doesn't say, and they kind of pass Maggie in the hall to tell security to not let Alex leave the building, and Maggie's like is all shocked that Meredith knew and didn't say anything. As Meredith, Bailey, and Maggie go to find Alex, they see the police arresting Alex, and they walk him out of the building through the main part of it. Maggie is then obviously upset with that Meredith was basically going to lie the entire time, which I'm not upset about because, like, come on, really. Later that night, Meredith shakes the bed to wake Ben up, and accuses him of knowing Alex beat up DeLuca, but Ben says he didn't know for sure that it was him. Miranda's upset that he didn't tell her, but he is steadfast about it, and he says he didn't know for sure, and he couldn't go to the chief with his suspicions. He could go to his wife about it, but he couldn't go to the chief about it. And Miranda made this, rule after Ben got in trouble at the hospital, saying that when Miranda's at the hospital, she's just the chief. He's not his wife at all in any capacity. She's just the chief. At home, she's 100% his wife, and that's it. So because she made that rule, he couldn't go to her and tell her his suspicions because she made that rule. So that's why he didn't go. That's why he didn't say anything. Meredith later that night, Meredith goes to Maggie's room, and Meredith says she wasn't gonna lie to everyone, but Maggie says she asked Meredith point blank what happened, and Meredith lied to her twice, not just once, twice. So Meredith starts to say that she and Alex were trying to find a way, but then Maggie cuts in and says to justify the beating he gave to Andrew, and Meredith says that she doesn't know. Maggie then is hurt because she poured her heart out to Meredith all day, and she knew the truth. Meredith says it wasn't about Maggie. Maggie says she is Meredith's sister. Meredith is like, I know, but Maggie's like, well, Maggie's just really hurt about it. And mainly because Meredith encouraged her to stay in Seattle and opened her home to Maggie and opened her family up to Maggie and everything. And she would, go down swinging for Meredith. Meredith says she won't lie to Maggie from here on out, and she will, tell the truth and everything. Next thing you know, Riggs is at the door, ringing the doorbell, and basically, Meredith is like, this thing can't go forward. Then she goes to Alex's jail cell, and Alex is like, I think I'm gonna lose my job, and she's like, you don't know that, and yeah, I do, and all this stuff, and yada yada. So basically, just to talk about next week's episode a little bit. The episode was called Catastrophe and Cure, and it appears that everyone's gonna have to choose sides. Basically, it's kind of like another situation where people are gonna have to choose sides, like when Arizona and Cali had did the whole custody battle thing. So it's kind of like that, but slightly different, or maybe not slightly different, but different. And so basically, it looks like they're gonna have to choose sides when Alex goes to trial. And so it shows a little scene where it looks like Meredith threatens DeLuca, maybe not knowingly, but or maybe knowingly, but she pretty much threatens him. Girl, if you don't stop doing this shit, like the last few seasons Meredith has been really trying my last nerve. The last few seasons, and I'm just like, girl, if you don't stop it, if you don't stop, I'm gonna, like, I think I might have to stop watching Grey's Anatomy, because, like, at this point, she, like, yeah, I get the show's about Meredith, but come on. Meredith can only, like, Meredith can only be pardoned so much. And right now she's been trying the last nerve the entire 12th season, and I'm just like, come on now, stop, please. Anyway, so basically my predictions are, I don't think Alex is going to go to prison, because Alex is, as far as I know, the person who plays Alex is a main character, and he's not going to be in only a few select episodes of the season. I'm pretty sure he's still a main character, so they can't really put his ass in jail. My prediction is that he's either going to get his license suspended like Ben did, or he's going to have to leave Gray Sloan Memorial Hospital, or he's going to have to or both of those things are going to happen, because they can't really have Alex go to jail. They did that on House, but the show House, but they can't really do that here. So I'm thinking that he's either going to have his license suspended, he's going to have to work at a different hospital than Grace Sloan Memorial, or it's going to be both. That's my prediction for next episode, or if they're going to span this out over a couple of episodes. And my only other prediction is that Jo is going to have her secrets revealed sooner or later. She's going to. That's what I think. She's going to have her secrets revealed, because otherwise because the writers can't keep dragging that shit out, because they've been dragging it out pretty much. They left it. They dropped that bombshell pretty much on the season finale, and so they left our asses hanging for the last three and a half months. So they're gonna have to, um, reveal the information to Alex and everyone else really soon, because they've kind of been building towards that for most of season 12 anyway. So and they kind of left us hanging for the last three and a half months, so they're gonna have to reveal that sooner or later. So that's just all that. Those are predictions. With that said, drop a comment in the comment box below, and so we can talk about the episodes and coming episodes. And I will link my Patreon page and my Instagram in the description box as well. And I'm sorry that this video is a lot longer than my normal videos. This is my first time, recapping Grey's Anatomy, so I didn't know what to leave out and what to add and everything. So I'll try to make my Grey's Anatomy videos shorter as much as possible, and keep it down to like 33 minutes at most. So yeah, I will see you guys next week in Grey's Anatomy's second episode. Bye.